Welcome to the Tentaroo Foundation's webinar series. This session's topic is the admin dashboard and other event features. In this session, I will cover elements of the dashboard, such as the registration summary at the top, some excellent tools for you, reports, and then some other event features like custom participant fields and a few ways that you can communicate your policies to your users. So let's go ahead and get started looking at that dashboard. The event dashboard is comprised of 5 main parts. We have the registration summary cards at the very top. These display different registration numbers and overall event balance information. The data displayed in these 4 cards will be different, a little bit different depending on your registration method. The next box includes some event details that are auto-generated from your event settings. This is where you can confirm registration dates and times to make sure your configuration is correct, and a similar box is displayed in the user interface to share those details with your units and families. Next, we have the tools box. This includes several key tools for managing events and registrations. I'll get into these in depth here in just a moment. The next section is event reports. These are event specific on this page, and then I'll go through all of these reports as well as the event type reports. The next section is a campsite summary. This shows numbers that you have in each campsite, and it's displayed if this event uses numbers and if the location has campsites built. Those are the 5 main points, 5 main sections of the dashboard, but I also want to highlight that this panel on the left includes an events listing. This is all the events built under this event type. And this is a quick way to navigate between different events in this event type. You can also use the search bar and the advanced search tools like showing events from past years, so you can see any past data as well. And this allows you to move back and forth quickly as you're building your events. So now let's go to that tools box and look over all of the options available there. We're going to start with the Recalculate Pricing button. And this feature recalculates pricing from scratch for all of your registered groups. And it'll take any spots that haven't been paid in full yet and increase those to the current rates in the system. This feature is only available for events that calculate pricing based on the date when spots are paid in full. In that case, unpaid spots should automatically go up in price over time, and this will recalculate everybody in one go. This option is not available on events that only use names, or if you have a numbers event that instead calculates pricing on when the group adds the registration, the date of their registration. You'll want to use this button when your rates increase, like early to base. And when you're doing that, make sure that a week or 2 ahead of then, you're sending invoices to your groups, messages from the message center, to remind them that the price is going to increase and give them a chance to come in and pay their balance before that. Otherwise, their rates will go up for any spots not paid in full. Another time you'll want to use this is when you're updating your pricing or leader ratios for the coming year and you need to bring all the groups to the new pricing. Recalculating pricing looks at the current rates in the event settings and at the amounts paid by each group. And it will update your group's registrations to account for how many spots they've paid for in full. This particular tool on the dashboard updates all the registrations for the event at one time, including any incomplete registrations still in the cart. The rates are also recalculated in the user interface whenever anyone goes through the numbers wizard. One other thing that I mentioned was the free leaders. Many camps offer free leaders with a certain number of youth registered. For example, at 5 youth, you get one free adult. At 10 youth, you get two free adults. Tentaroo can automate this for events that use numbers or numbers and names. There is a form on the admin manual where you can submit your free leader ratios, and I will show you where to find that later in this webinar. Automated free leaders are not available right now or not available for just names events, only if the event uses numbers. When you're using our automated free leaders, the ratios are automatically applied whenever a group initiates a registration, whenever they add a new registration for this event. Then, as youth spots change, the free leaders will also change according to those ratios. One exception to this is events that calculate pricing based on date of registration. So they use numbers and they're basing pricing on when the group registers. For those events, admin users will need to click the Apply Leader Ratios button in the Numbers wizard whenever the admin is in there changing youth spots. And this button will apply the leader ratios based on the new number of spots. And this button is used in this case because admins are allowed to override the rates for spots in this type of event, and automatically applying the leader ratios could undo those changes. Now, in the case where leader ratios are added after registration begins, and you already have a few groups registered for your event, you can update those existing groups either by using the Recalculate button to grant the free leaders, or if that's not available for your type of event, you can click the Apply Leader Ratios button in the Numbers wizard. So that depends on your event configuration. That moves on to the next button here, which is Generate Invoices. You'll want to generate invoices you can generate invoices at any time to bill groups for part or all of their registration, or even just to send them an updated copy of their invoice. We recommend sending invoices 1 to 2 weeks ahead of price increases, so groups know how much has to be paid in order to lock in their pricing. You can also pair this with a message from the message center to communicate payment plans, price increases, any other information you need to tell them right now. To set up your invoice structure, there are several features in this box. The first is defining the recipient. The default is sending to all registered groups, and this would look at all the groups signed up for this particular event. You can also switch to specific groups, and that brings up a select option where you can pick just the groups you want to send this message to. And you'll see there that those set groups are shown here. Next, you'll define the amount. You can bill the entire remaining balance, which would look at anything due in the system, or you can switch to a set amount to bill per youth. This feature adds together all of your payment installments together as you're setting it up. So for example, if you have 2 installments of $50, the first time you invoice, you'll set this to 50. That's the first time they have an installment that they need to have paid. And oh, not 500, 50. And then the next time you want to set this to the second 50, you would add those two together. So you would invoice them for $100. In either case, the system will automatically look at how much has been paid for that group and calculate how much needs to be paid in order to bring the group current to what your invoicing is set to. The next feature is include registrations with no balance due. If you turn this on, then your billing amount or your invoices will also generate for a group that has paid enough to cover this invoice. And that way everybody gets a current invoice, even if they don't owe anything. Next, we have the due date. You can set this if you want to, but it's not required. So if you want this paid by the time your price goes up, that's a great place to communicate that to your groups. And then you can also add invoice notes to tell them where they're at in the billing cycle or in the payment plan. And this will show up at the bottom of their invoice with that information. This is another time where you might use that message center where you can add a little bit more formatting and hyperlinks and such to the message that you send out at the same time as sending the invoice. Now we have two options for what to do with these invoices that we've created. We can export the PDF of these invoices so we can preview what we have set up or print them for check-in packets, or you can click the Send to Clients button, and this will go out to the group contacts and if you're using them, the event contacts. So I'm just going to take a quick look at these invoices to show you how things worked out for our groups. So this group doesn't owe anything. So you've got the date and the dollar amount that they owe. And then here is your message down at the bottom. All right, and then we're going to go and look now at the message center. This button here in the tools box will pop us out of the event and over into the message center under the event type. In the message center here, this is a great way to communicate with your groups who have registered for your events. You can send messages automatically with new registrations. You can set that under the event type settings. And then all of these messages are shared between all of your event types in the system. The list is searchable, so you can find a particular message. And you can also toggle on show deleted. So if you've deleted any past messages, you can restore those to retrieve data. You can add a new message with the green new button, or if you're on mobile, it'll be a white plus in the blue bar. And these messages are formattable by using this editor, just like with any website or Microsoft Word similar to that. And then you also can send a message from within the editor itself. So I'm going to open up our pre-camp message because that one looks awfully nice. So this message has lots of nice formatting. You can add hyperlinks to information on your website or on another website, like linking to National's website for the annual health and medical record forms. And then you can also add images to your content. And that's a little bit of an advanced feature that we will show more when we get into the website editing itself in a future webinar. But I wanted to let you know that it's possible to do that in the Message Center. Now, I mentioned that you can automate messages and you can also send messages manually at any time. So let's see. To send a message manually, you can click on the Send Message button here, or in the three-dot menu on the side of a message, you can click this button. Either one will open the same box where you can choose an event that's going on right now. You can also turn on events from past years if you want to communicate with older groups that registered in the past. When you choose an event, you can then send it to all registered groups or select specific groups to communicate with. The recipients here also include the group primary and alternate contacts and the event primary and alternate contacts, just like those invoices do. To set up a message to go out automatically, we'll go into the event type settings. And here we have the new registration confirmation message. So our message is already set and this will go out automatically anytime a group adds a new registration for the event. And we strongly recommend setting a welcome message to each event type to go out automatically to communicate with your groups as they sign up for each event. And this will go out along with a receipt for whatever payment they've made at the time. In this case, the same message is sent out for all of your events. when you're sending it manually, you can send a different version of each of the message to each event. So if you want to specify that, that's a manual thing. I also recommend updating the content from year to year so you aren't sending outdated information. This one has been around for a little bit, so we'll just do a quick update on that one. All right, let's go back to our dashboard. And that brings me to the next feature in our tools box, and that's enter class requirements completed. Once your event is underway, you'll want to start plugging in your class attendance and requirements completed so unit leaders can review their scouts' progress. This is done with the Enter Requirements Completed tool. This feature can be accessed from the dashboard or from the classes section, and you can do this on any device. So we're going to search for a class. We'll do archery, and I want to do this one. And this opens the Enter Requirements Completed tool. The first thing in this box is the instructor name and initials. And this data appears on your instructor class rosters, so you know whom to hand each roster to. And then it also shows up on your blue card reports. If you want your blue card reports for completed merit badges to be signed by the instructor, it is important to fill this out, and the initials will show up next to the requirements as they are completed in either case. The next section is the mass update box. In this box, anything you do here will apply to all of your participants. The exception being if you have marked a participant as a no-show, these buttons won't affect their records. Let's see. Okay, so the first thing is the status. Everyone is initially set up as partial, and if everybody completed the badge, you can select completed, and that will update everybody. And then the next option is the attendance. So you want to mark all the days that the scouts were in attendance. And as you can see, it's already starting to update my first participant here. And this will show Monday through Friday based on a typical summer camp weekly merit badge schedule. And if your event is on a weekend where these aren't necessarily the days where you're holding classes, you can just skip this step. It's just to update the boxes on the spreadsheet. Next, you have your list of requirements, and this will display only your selected requirements taught at camp. And I explained how to configure that in the class scheduling and products webinar. Click or tap on all of the requirements that you've taught so far to fill in for all of your participants. Then we're going to get down into the section for entering by participant. This list is searchable, so if you are looking for a specific person to update, that you can bring up their participant quickly, which is helpful if you've got a long list. And then you can also customize their attendance and requirements completed records for each participant. So for example, if they are partial, you can switch them to that while everybody else is marked as completed. You can say they didn't attend a day, everybody else was there. And just a quick note, that does change the box up here to a lighter orange, indicating that you had partial attendance on that day. Then if they didn't complete one or more of your requirements, then you can use the X to remove those. And we have this manage button, and I'm going to show you what that does because it's kind of awesome. So this opens a full list of all of the requirements taught at camp. And this has the description for that requirement, and you can check the box to say that person has done this or not. Now you notice that we have stuff like this where it's do one of the following. We specified that we're teaching D1. If you want to grant a participant a requirement that wasn't on your official list, you can change the requirements displayed here at the top, where it says show requirements taught at camp, you can switch to show all requirements. And now where it's do one of the following, you can see the requirement that was hidden. So you can change to give the participant credit for the other requirement that you didn't officially have on your list for camp. When you're done making your changes to this box, click Save at the bottom to commit those changes. And then when you're done making edits to your individual participants, you can click Save, and that will update those requirements in the system automatically. So your Scoutmaster sitting in his tent on his phone can bring up the requirements completed for that scout and see what they have accomplished that day. Now, we also have situations where you can set up combination classes where the participant is signing up for a bunch of classes all at once, like my Trail to Eagle example. In this case, each of these options has its own Enter Class Requirements Completed section. So you can enter the requirements that each scout completed for each option. We also have options that are not merit badges, or classes that are not merit badges, such as the second class rank. We entered the requirements that we're teaching at camp in the class type for this, so I can also record what that scout has completed here. And that is going to be exactly the same in almost every respect, except when you're looking at the Enter by Participant, there's no Manage button to bring up your full list of requirements, because the full list of requirements is what you entered into the class type. Instead, you have Add All and Clear All buttons where you can add all the requirements for a given participant or clear them all off. And if you set a scout to no show, then all of those options will be hidden and they will not get credit for any of the class, rank, merit badge requirements. You can also go through and there is a field to manually type requirements. So we can use this to enter comma separated values and hit enter, and those will be added to the requirements that they have completed. I'm going to save those changes, and I'm going to very quickly jump over to the classes section and show you a few of these options over here. So we have each class listed, and then there is a orange button, and that will bring up your Enter Requirements Completed box. And then there's also a 3-dot menu where you can export the instructor class rosters for that, which I'll talk about more in a moment, or enter the requirements completed for that participant. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to our dashboard, and we're going to talk about those instructor class rosters next. Instructor class rosters are what you'll want to hand out to your instructors to track attendance and requirements in the field. Here's an example of one of those reports. You can print these off and hand them out, or you may not need to do this because instructors can enter the completion data from their phones or tablets. So they could be in their program area entering data live with their class right there on their device. The instructor class rosters can be generated in 3 different areas. I showed you the one in classes already from the 3-dot menu, and there's this button here, and this will either one of those will generate for one class at a time. So if we generated the one for archery, we could get just that one here, and it does give you the option to include blank rows if you want to pencil in walk-ins. The other way to generate an instructor class roster is down in the reports section about halfway down. And this one is the one that you'll want to use for your camp at the beginning to hand out to your instructors, because this will include all of the classes that you're offering. So on your instructor class rosters, these will start out with all of the registered names. It has columns for attendance and for each of the requirements you're teaching. You'll notice here I have number 1 WL. That's also the wait list. So if someone's on the wait list, you have them already on the list if you want to count them as part of your class. And then if you do have walk-ins that you pencil into the blank rows, an admin can add them after the class begins so that you can track records for them as well. Please review the class scheduling and products webinar for how to specify those requirements taught. And then once we have requirements entered into the system, any newly generated rosters will include check marks for the days in attendance and the requirements completed for each participant. So here's an example for archery with the data that we just entered into the system. Okay, I'm going to close a few things here that I don't need anymore, and we're going to go back to the dashboard. And now we get to learn about the reports that are available in the system. We offer a lot of reports that you'll want to use before, during, and after camp to keep an eye on everything and communicate with your staff and those registering for your events. All of the reports here on the dashboard are specific to this event, but we also have reports that pull data for all events available on the event type reports section. And I will show you that after I get through the reports here for the event. Most reports here come in a PDF, both a PDF version and an Excel version. PDF versions are great for check-in and check-out packets, while the CSV Excel file exports are best for admins managing registration and gathering data. The first report we're going to look at is the groups check-in PDF. And what this is it's the invoices, just the straight up invoices for each group that you can print and include in your check-in packets. The next report is the group's Excel file. And this one is going to include a lot of information. And I'll go and show you an example for that. So this includes your campsite information, both the campsite rankings that your units put in when they register, and once you've assigned campsites, they'll show up on this list. Then we have several different ways of looking at the numbers in your event. We have the numbers of participant types. Then we have how many names have been added. And then you'll also get information on whether there are changes in the cart. So you can go and make sure that those groups are finalizing their information. And then we have a section on fees. We have event fees and class fees, and this is going to be just about the same as what's on your invoices. The only thing not included here are products. If you've used a custom field for your groups with a custom prompt, then it's not a custom field, but if you're using the group notes with a custom prompt, that information will be included here. So you can plan ahead for any special needs or whatever else you've asked for there. And then we have general group information. So you know which group account was used to make this registration. The next section is the event contact information. So you can pull that for everybody and send out an email outside of the Tentaroo system. And then we also have the same for the group contact information. The next couple things I want to point out are money related as well. In Tentaroo, your groups can hold credit on file if there's been a cancellation and credit is created, and that is going to be included on this report. If they have credit on file and they make another registration purchase, that money will be used first. You can also see which event pricing tier this group is assigned to, which can affect the rates if you have it set up that way. All right, so that is the group's information. I'm going to go ahead and close that for now and go back to my list. Our next report is the participant roster PDF. And this is great for your check-in packets as well. It has one section per group with the names of the participants and contact information for each. Then we have a participant roster in Excel format. And this one is going to be a spreadsheet with all of those names. And that is this one right here. So you have all of your youth information, adult information, all of that is included. And then you also have their rank, grade, unit information. And a quick note, even if you have participants signing up in family accounts, which I know is often discouraged for summer camp, but it could be on other events as well. Their unit information will be included here, whether they signed up with a unit account or a family account. I also want to point out that this report shows your allergies, dietary restrictions, and special needs notes from your participants. So that's good for your medic and for your dining hall team. And then we have the event class schedule Excel file. And this report is your class schedule. And it has one line per class. And this is a great report to confirm that your class schedule is set up correctly. I have more on setting up classes in the class scheduling and products webinar. This report includes information like how many participants are in each class. And let's see, there's a pricing information for it. Here it is. The number registered, the number available, and if this number goes negative, that means that you have participants on the wait list. This also includes a section below that is your total of participants by class type. So that's a nice summary for the end of your year of how many people took each type of class. All right, so I'm going to close that and go back to our reports list again. And then the next three reports are all they are all live versions of your class schedules, which you can share with your groups. And whether or not you have a Tentaroo site, this can be embedded on your website using an iframe. And I'm going to give you a quick example for that. So I'm going to export the event class schedule for youth. And this is live with the system and shows spots available, number on wait list. And I am going to copy the URL from this class schedule. And now I'm going to come over here to, this is actually my page from last year that has my class schedules for summer camp. And it includes that, but you can add all of your class schedules to a single page if you want to. So I'm going to update the week 1 class schedule to the current year. And so here is my summer camp classes page. And I'm going to go into the source code. And we'll have more on how to do all of this, working in source code and stuff in the websites portion of our webinar series. And now here is my iframe code. And I'm going to replace the source code from last year, everything within the quotation marks, with my new code. Just swap that out and save. And now in my class schedule for week 1, you'll see that it is now this year's updated schedule. And for those of you using Tentaroo websites, we have the sample iframe code available in the admin manual as well. All right. And like I said, we'll cover that in more depth of how to manage pages and the websites portion of our webinar series. Okay. Going back to the list. The next two versions of that are going to look very similar. The second one is just for the adult classes that you have set up, and the third one is your group classes. All right, now the next report on our list is the instructor class roster. And like I said before, this is going to include all of your class rosters in one report, so you can print those out and hand those out to your staff. The next three reports are also kind of a similar grouping. These are the participant class schedules by group in different formats, and they are all they're all PDF versions. And we're going to look at the participant class roster for this event. So this has one page or one grouping of pages per group. It'll show the location if you've got that set up of where each class is held. And then when you get to the end of a group, there will be a break where you start a new group. These are great for setting up or printing out for your check-in packets. And once the event starts, the location is replaced by any requirements that you've entered into the system. So here's an example of that where for this particular class, that I have the attendance and the requirements that they have completed, or if it's completed, it'll just say that. And the full list of requirements is included in other reports. The other two reports are going to be basically the same. The requirements completed version of the report has more information for the checkout packets step of things. The only difference here is that there's a message at the bottom of each page for or regarding merit badge counselors and completion information. The participant class schedules by participant is the same as the by group version, except it's going to have one page break after every participant. The next three reports are also a group, and these are participant class schedules in spreadsheet format, and they have more data than the PDF versions of things. So the first we have is the participant class schedules by class Excel file. In the participant class schedule by class spreadsheet, you have the name of each participant and you have one line for every class that they're taking. This report is very helpful in that it includes the spot number on waiting list. So if you have scouts towards the end of registration who are still on wait lists for classes, you can identify which of those scouts is waitlisted, so you can go in and work with them to find a class that has available spots. The next version is the participant class schedules by participant, which is going to be very similar with one notable difference. Instead of one line per class, you have one line per participant. And then later on, you have columns for each time block. So in this case, a couple of my scouts are in a day long or all the time blocks, one class. It's a big combo class all week. So all of that's shown in one column, and then you have time block 2, time block 3. These are great if you're setting up mail merges to make lanyards or printed out schedules in your own format. And that has all of your class scheduling information on it. And then the last one, participant class schedules, but with event options, is going to look basically the same. The big difference here is that it is only showing class registrations that are set up as registration options. So this can include camperships that reduce the fee or an add-on that increases the fee, but it adjusts the participant cost. And so this report just shows those. Options are an adjustment to the registration. They're not classes that someone would actually attend. And this report lets you see just those with the GL assigned to the registration option and the event GL. So, for example, with a campership, you have you can track when money has been used from your campership fund to pay for event fees. Our next report is the requirements completed for Scoutbook Excel file. Some camps, let's see. In this case, you want to select a group and then generate that file. And that will generate a file with merit badge completion records for Scouts BSA Youth in the group you've selected. Your units also have access to this report, but if they're having trouble getting into their account or accessing their records, you can pull it from them from the admin interface. You can see our camp check-in video series for additional information on using this report to import data into Scoutbook. Our next report is Blue Cards, and this is a PDF file, and some camps choose to print Blue Card reports for their groups. But for unit-based events, our best practice recommendation is to use the Scoutbook export to update requirements directly. If you do want to generate Blue Cards for your groups, you're also going to want to select the group itself and then generate the front report and then the back report. This is another report that's available for groups to pull from their login. The next report on my list is the group class and option registrations Excel file, and this is going to include registrations for group classes and options. Then we have a participant list PDF, and it's really just a list of names for people who are coming to your event. Next, we have product orders. And this report is there if you are selling products for your event, and you can print this off to or use it to fill boxes of merchandise for your units to pick up at check-in. And this includes the amounts charged, any balances, and the quantity of each for each group. Then we have a registration amounts spreadsheet report. This one is useful when you want to view the number of participants at each rate, at the early, the base, the late, in council, out of council, those kinds of things are included in this report. I would not use this to determine balances, since this doesn't include any classes, products, or registration options. So if you've got a lot of camperships, this report won't give you accurate balance due information. This just displays the base registration costs before any adjustments are applied. The last report on this list is the t-shirt sizes totals report. This one is useful if you are including a shirt in the registration cost, and not if you're using it not if you're selling shirts through products or classes. This is only based on the built-in shirt size field if you're using that, and that will get you whatever data your groups have entered into that field. I'm going to move out of the dashboard for a moment. I'm going to go back to the event type level, and now I'm going to show you the reports that are available at that level instead. So this has two sections. The Generate Reports section, which has reports that you can download from the system, and then Year Overview. And I'll look at that one in just a minute. In the reports you can generate, you're going to select the year that you want to pull data for. And then these reports are going to include all of the events during that year in one report. So it'll tell you that this one is week 1 and this one is week 2, or your different, Cub Scout day camps that are held under this event type. The reports available here, we've already seen. These are the exact same reports in the events listing, except these are going to include, like I said, all of the events, and these are only the Excel versions of things. For the PDF reports, you'll need to go to each event and generate those for each week. So now let's go up to the year overview instead. And this isn't going to give you a downloadable version of things. What you get here is a quick glance at what's available in or what's currently registered in the system. Just like with generating reports, you can change the year that you're looking at data for. And then you can also select how you are viewing things. So we have the year overview that gets you different levels of stats. Then you can look at things by district and see how your districts are faring in registering for this event. Then we have the by event view, and these are the same data sets that are displayed at the top of each event card. And last, by participant type, so you can see how the breakdown is between your different participant types. All right, and with that, I'm going to go back to our dashboard for that final section. And that is the campsites summary area. This includes each of your campsites if you're using them for this event, and it'll show you a brief explanation or a brief breakdown of the numbers of groups and participants in each campsite. We're going to cover these in more depth in the camperships, discounts, and campsite management webinar coming up soon. All right, so that's our dashboard. Now I want to talk to you a little bit about some other features available to help you manage your events. We have several other options for you to help you with your event that we manage on our end. So we have these available on our admin manual under Tentaroo Managed Features. So let's run through a few of these options. Now, first, I mentioned earlier in the webinar that we had a way for you to submit your free leader ratios on the admin manual. So I am going to show you that first. And that is right here, free leader ratios. So we have a page that explains how the free leader ratios work in the system, including the differences between date paid in full and date of registration. So there's more information for you to come out and view here. And then we have a submission form where you can enter your free leader ratios into this form, and it'll let us know so we can get to updating those in the system for you. Next, I want to talk about setting up custom fields for participants. Custom fields allow you to add extra fields to the system for youth and for adults beyond the fields that are already built in. We also support showing or hiding those built-in fields, or many of those built-in fields, and we have that covered in the Building Events webinar. You can request custom fields through the form on our admin manual, and then we will get those added to your event type for you. These are available for events that use names and can be added for youth and or for adults. The fields can be optional or required. And there we go. We'll add a field. They can be required or they can be not required, apply to youth, adults, or both. And they'll be added to the event type. They'll be available for any events under that event type, but they're not saved. So any of our built-in fields save data to the member profile. These custom fields do not. So your groups will be required to fill them out per your settings anytime they register for an event under this event type. All right. I have 3 more options to show you, and they are all related to communicating your terms and policies with your units. The first of those 3 are the privacy and refund policies. So these are displayed on the bottom of the checkout field, and they are every account starts out with our default settings. So let me just add some stuff to the cart so we can take a look at that. Oh. All right, so in the cart, at the bottom of the screen, we have the default return and privacy policies. This is the default wording that every council account starts out with, but you can customize the wording to be specific to your council. And to get those updated to something that is correct for your council, you can use the form on the admin manual to submit those, and we will get that updated in your system for you. Now, a quick note about those is that those policies are the same for any item in the cart. So they need to be the generic version of your policies and not event specific or facility specific. If you do have specific policies for some of your events, there's another way to display those, which I will talk about next. All right. And then the next one here is the checkout terms and conditions. The checkout terms and conditions feature allows you to show your users any pop-up message when they check out. And then let's see, I have an example of that here. So when they click place order, this box will pop up with your message. And then if you take a look here, we have a toggle where you can require your users to agree to your terms or verify that they have read it. And they have to turn that on in order to finalize their purchase. So this enabling the toggle to agree is great for policies that they need to agree to. These pop-ups don't just have to be used for that, though. They could show any information you want your users to read, like a reminder about the event. And unlike the policies shown at the bottom of the checkout page, these pop-up messages are enabled for specific event types and will only be triggered when changes for those events are in the cart. So you might consider putting your general policies at the base of the checkout page and then use a pop-up for more detailed policies that about this event that you want your users to agree to. The third way that you can communicate policies is to use the message center. With the message center, which we talked a little bit about earlier, you can easily make changes to the messages over time. This method does not need to have to go through us, so you have more control over what gets sent to your groups at any given time. You can also add more formatting and hyperlinks, and you can automate them for new registrations, like I mentioned before. One drawback I want to mention with using messages for terms is you can't force the unit to say they agree to your terms in order to check out. The automated messages are sent after they've already placed the order. So it's just FYI for your groups of what your policies are. But it's still helpful to remind units of what the policies are and have that in their account of what they agree to by registering for your event. All right. We covered a lot today, like how to keep track of your event once it's up and running, and tools like invoicing, reports, and ways of communicating your policies. If you have questions about using any of the features I showed you today, please send us an email at support@tentaroo.com or schedule a training at admin.tentaroo.com/training.